All this week, we're talking about the incredible value and power of having core values and guiding principles in your business. And so today we're going to talk about our first core value here at Business Marketing Engine, which is responsibility. So stay tuned and I'll explain what that means for us and how you can apply it to your business as well. So as I mentioned on yesterday's show, we have our core values and guiding principles mapped out, and we use them internally. They're public on our site. We talk about one of them each week during one of our daily huddles, because it's really important that the entire team understands, here's our standards, here's our principles, here's our values, here's how we show up. And so our first core value is responsibility. And it says right on our page where we list these, and internally where we reference these: take ownership of your work and get it done on time. And one of the things that I like about the core values that we crafted quite a few years ago, because I did our core values first probably 4 or 5 years ago, and then I added in our guiding principles almost 2 years ago now, which I think is actually was a good process for us. You may be able to do them all at once. It really depends if you're crafting these for yourself, or if you're looking back and just want to update the ones you have to make sure they're actually understandable and actionable. You could potentially do them all at once, or you might want to do core values first if you don't have those, and then a few months later get into your guiding principles. But what I like about this first core value and how it's really helped us is that it's really short and simple and easy to understand. So take ownership of your work and get it done on time. And for us internally, that means that by taking ownership, it means that there's nobody standing behind you. This is an example that I've used for the team. I've shared this with clients, and I'll say, on an all-team daily huddle one time, I said, okay, everybody, turn around and look behind you. And I'll say, is there anybody there? And is there anybody there that's going to do your work for you? Because we all work remotely from home. So yes, there might be somebody in the background somewhere, but is there somebody standing behind you that's going to do your work for you? And the answer is no. You are the one that has to take ownership of your work. And you have to solve the problem, figure out how to get it done, and you have to get it done on time. And if you're not going to get it done on time, it's still your responsibility to communicate and get support so you can get it done on time, because there's other team members that are depending on us to get things on time. Our clients are depending on that. We really have to make sure that we're focused on that, because if it's not one of our core values of taking responsibility for those things, then it's very easy to get in, to conversations or situations where somebody will say, oh, well, so-and-so didn't get it to me, so I didn't finish my part. And that's actually not, there's lack of responsibility on both sides. You're not following up to say, hey, I'm responsible for this deliverable, so I need your help and support. And they're not being responsible by saying, hey, I'm stuck, or I need help, or I'm struggling, or they just maybe forgot about it, so they're not taking responsibility at all. And when that type of attitude happens inside of an organization, which unfortunately I've coached clients and been involved in situations where I can immediately tell that there's no ownership going on. I sit down and ask somebody like, hey, what's going on with this situation? Or how's this project coming? Or, you got these leads that came in, did somebody on your team follow up with them? Or, I know this is a big project and initiative that we talked about a month ago. This is like when I'm coaching when I did some business coaching, which I don't do very much of anymore. But when I was doing that, and I would ask about something and say, oh, well, my boss didn't get back to me, or, so-and-so said they'd get it over to me. It never happened. When that type of, behavior is being allowed, you're teaching your team that that's acceptable. And not only are you teaching them it's acceptable, you're saying, this is how we want our star people to behave here. Don't take responsibility, blame somebody else, and hope it gets done somehow. And when there's a toxic company culture going on like that, what tends to happen is there's a small group of people that are just naturally the workers. They put their head down, they try to cover everything they can, and they get stressed out and burned out, and they either stop performing or they leave because they can see that they're the only one pulling the weight. And it's really easy for that to happen in an organization when you don't continually talk about, if your core value is responsibility, which I think it's something along those lines probably should be in the mix. If you're not talking about that and reminding people, then it's easy to point the finger and say, oh, that was somebody else's fault, or that was, not my fault. And then just nothing gets done. And so that's why this is this is our first core value, responsibility, to take ownership of your work, to get it done on time, because it's really crucial that that is the general attitude of every single, team member. And even if they're stuck, or even if they're only partially involved in something, they know that they have to take it all the way. They have to make sure that they do everything they can. They reach out for help. And if they're doing a handoff, they make sure that the next team member has all the information that they need in order to be successful in taking over ownership of a project, a deliverable, or anything else. And because this is something we've talked about, and indoctrinated, and we practice and we work on, it's not something we're ever perfect at, because I think we can always improve in how we show up and how we take ownership. But because it's something that's truly part of our culture, recently we had one of our project managers move on to a new opportunity. We were super grateful for their time with us. We were super happy for their next path. They were just an incredible team member. I've talked about this situation in past episodes. They gave us 5 weeks notice. And so they took the time and fully, caught up to speed the project manager that was going to be taking on the project. They gave him all the information. And because of that, it was a really smooth transition, because both team members took full ownership of the situation. The one that was moving on to a new position and moving out of our company documented everything, met with the new PM, did everything in their power to make it a simple, smooth transition to the new project manager. And the new project manager dove in head first, took all that information, did their own due diligence, really took ownership of things so that they could deliver and launch this huge project on time. And it was a great example of how we operate here, and something that I encourage you to think through and ask yourself, what is one of my core values? What are these kind of blanket overall things that's really important that I hold myself accountable to, if you're the owner, the CEO, manager, or leader? And how do I hold my team responsible to this? Because when you take that attitude and approach, it's what allows your team to be successful. So I appreciate you taking time to tune in today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about our second core value and how you can apply that to your business. And I'll just share kind of the examples of how we use it. If you need any help with this or any input, I'm always glad to share resources. You can reach us at businessmarketingengine.com, and I will see you on the next episode.